gonna click record. Cool, yeah, we're back recording. What's up? Today we have a special guest in the building and in the car. Rayson, how do you say your last name, Rayson? Esquejo?
Esquejo.
Esquejo, okay. He's happens to be Earl's cousin, and he has done a lot of amazing things that have to do with social media and marketing and working in the film industry and doing that particularly for a film called Jobs, which Ashton Kutcher was a star of. And then I also am familiar with him working at TFC for a bit and doing some marketing with them. And I think it's just great to hear someone's experience doing marketing, particularly for like just with social media, since marketing is a big one, but just in the niche of social media. So, Rayson, yeah, what's up? And happy to have
Yeah,
you in
what's
episode
up?
36.
What's up, Rayson?
Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be here. Yeah, I have a quite an interesting resume in this space, particularly in the digital marketing space, in social and entertainment, and basically the gambit there. Yeah, I. What do you want me to rally off?
Yeah. No, I guess Rayson, maybe let us know like what you're currently doing, right? What are your big, kind of professional pursuits today, and also major projects, right? And then maybe after that, we'd love to hear more about like, your career, right? Some
Like how I got there.
some interesting kind of projects or roles that you kind of were in before this role.
Cool. So currently I'm working on a myriad of different projects. On the mainstay, I am the executive vice president of a Harvey called Harvey Industries, which is a woodworking tool company. So we produce table saws and hand saws and power tools for woodworkers. I came on this company about a year and a half ago. It was previously a B2B company, more traditional, using my background in digital marketing as well as e-commerce. Brought the company online. I started with this company as a freelancer. I brought the company online. Their gross revenue at the time was about 500,000. By the end of the first year, or in the 6 months from like March till the end of the year, I brought it up to 5 million. Then the next year, we're projected at 15 million. So,
Oh wow! This is called Harvey. What did you say, Harvey?
Harvey Industries.
And they're more of a like in terms of business, they're more of a carpentry or like in that field or like.
So their woodworking is more of a hobby as well as I guess it crosses hobby as well as like, during pandemic, it definitely helped catapult that because a lot of people, left their jobs or working at home and they really tuned into their craft. So a lot of people, if you looked on like marketplaces where people were making things or doing cabinets and tables and stuff, so they invested into, more of the tools.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And you run like social media pages or like what is it that comes into that?
It's funny because I started here as a freelancer, just kind of bringing it on e-commerce, like utilizing paid media and hyper targeting on Facebook, on Google, on YouTube, on Instagram, and basically raising awareness for the product. I've always been a big advocate of if you have something that's a good product, there's an audience for it. Actually, for anything, if you have anything, there's an audience. You just have to find them.
Yeah, so let's tap into that. Like, it's to me like the wood industry would seem like the more mature side of things, right? Like people who are probably like 50 or like old people. I don't want to say that like that, but like
it's definitely it's definitely the demographic there is definitely skews older. The mainstay of the audience that was propelling the company prior to my employment there was about the $500,000 a year kind of base was typically 50 to 75-year-old Caucasian male.
Yeah.
But a lot more, maybe because the diversity wasn't I guess exposed to this kind of stuff, because now the demographics are definitely skewing younger. Just because people want to find out things to do. It's definitely still like in the 30s to 40s because these things are not cheap. Disposable income is definitely necessary, unless you're a professional carpenter. But a lot of people are starting to dive into the woodworking, which is it's very interesting. There's a very passionate audience out there for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, how do you?
Yeah, so I guess Rayson, kind of jumping on here, like how do you end up like, let's say, even running digital for companies, right? Like, tell us more about like your own kind of journey to that. I was telling Dan a while ago that you were one of the kind of early pioneers, I guess, of betting your career on platforms which is very unproven, right? I mean, MySpace during that time, and even others, when literally marketing was not digital, right? So
Yeah.
how maybe tell us more about like that journey, the decision to bet your career on these new trends, but it could have tanked, right? So I'm curious, yeah.
So I mean, like social media kind of game when I was in college. I was like third or fourth year in college. Was about MySpace and like the tail end of Friendster. Facebook just started getting introduced. Um, I saw an opportunity here. I've always been a fan of marketing because I think talking to people is interesting. I think interacting with people is interesting. I think the way people interact with things are interesting. But
Yeah, definitely.
at the time, it's one of those things where if you wanted a tenure in marketing, you probably have to get 15 years under there to be a
Right.
director level or something. And I saw an opportunity here. I was like, okay, social media is definitely a platform that's getting a lot of traction. Facebook is just kind of getting into MySpace is full blown. I think I should become a social media marketer. Um, I didn't really know. No one really knew what that was.
You're
The
Ty
term for
Lopez before the Ty Lopez guy.
yeah, I mean, like the term for it back then is new media because that's one of those things that like they didn't have
New
a
media, wow. So it's, I
yeah
mean, at the time
they
it's
didn't have a
new.
coined term. Yeah, they didn't have a coined term for it. So it was like, oh yeah, you're into new media marketing, and I was like, it's kind of a broad term, but I guess it's more of the social new media. Um, so I try to look for everything resources everywhere to try to learn more about this stuff. Um, Tapped into guerrilla marketing books by like Seth Godin, um, which helped me learn guerrilla marketing tactics, and I kind of converted that to see how they could work online. Um, so I eventually I use that to kind of go door to door to businesses and be like, hey, do you do digital marketing? It's this new thing that's kind of online. A lot of people are on there, and I basically
What did they
do
say
what
at first?
guerrilla.
Were they clueless, or like did they like
People
think
were
you were
like, so
scamming
you build websites? I'm
them?
like, well, technically not websites. There are pre-existing
Yeah.
sites where people are on there. But it's interesting because at that time, if anyone was going to pay you anything, you had to learn. So I learned off of YouTube. I learned web development. I learned Photoshop and graphic design. Just kind of as far as it is in relation to digital marketing, and which made me kind of a jack of all trades at that point. Uh, that eventually landed me at a internship with a company called um, Fanscape, which did all the social media for MTV.
Oh
And
wow.
when I got in there, I realized they had no idea what they were doing either. They were kind of just doing what I already learned
That's
how to
funny.
do, which
Yeah.
was kind of just like spamming pages with like messaging,
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on MySpace pages and being like, "Hey, check this out! Hey, check this out!" Which was funny because I was like, "This is what the big companies are doing." Um, so I decided after that internship, I graduated, and I was like, "I'm gonna go full steam ahead with this social media marketing. It's really starting to grow. Facebook is starting to become a thing. MySpace kind of died out, but Facebook is a thing, and it's in that college range where I was definitely in that market. So which one?
From Madeline?
No.
Yeah, I'll take it. What is it?
So then it's funny because like my parents who are first
Yeah.
generation Filipino were
Right.
like, you graduated from UCLA, you have a degree in philosophy, maybe like law would probably be more of a thing. I was like, no, I'm gonna kind of like dive into this social media
Man,
marketing.
yeah. So I guess like back then, like I guess degrees are kind of like almost getting to that irrelevant, or like kind of not as relevant.
Yeah, it was about
conversation for
that
some
time. Like
reason.
I graduated and it was like no one had jobs kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is bad. So let me just do this social media marketing thing. And people were like, it's a fad. You're not gonna make any money. And I was like,
What
I
year was
really
this?
think
Was this like 2011 or
this was
something?
2008.
Oh my God. Yeah, 2008.
So people were like, yeah,
That's
don't do
like
it.
the crisis time, right? Crazy.
Yeah. And then people were like, yeah, you're better off getting a normal job. I was like, nah, like I saw MTV doing it. So it must be a thing. So I went a couple more years doing door to door, kind of refining my skills, learning learning platforms for this kind of like stuff, learning Facebook, really learning YouTube, learning how they interacted with people, and how people interacted and used them. And then I landed a gig with an agency that was doing it for Adidas, and I worked there for about a year, kind of learning the how the bigger companies and the
Uh-huh.
CPG like companies were doing it. And a year into that, I landed a job as the head of social media for a movie studio called Open Road Films.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
You got 3 fingers, bro?
What?
You got 8 finger combos?
Yeah, I did. Sorry about that.
No, no, it's good. It's a
Oh,
good
my bad, man.
content, man.
Yeah,
I was like,
for the
"Dabbling."
listeners of the podcast here, right? Like,
Bro,
Rayson is a busy guy, so we caught him
Feel free to eat too,
while
Rayson. That's okay
yeah,
with
we
us.
caught
You
him
can eat
during
too.
his lunch break here, right? So running basically a multi-million-dollar division, has its perks, right?
I was trying to buy the everyone on the team some food for lunch. But anyways, yeah. So I was like, I landed this gig. Open Road Films was a partnership company from AMC Theaters and Regal Theaters. They basically came together and made a movie studio, and this is around 2010. And they were just kind
Yeah.
of like the startup. So this was like when those mini major studios were kind of in the works, like Lionsgate, Fox Searchlight, um, like all the smaller studios.
A24
So
or something like that.
A24,
Yeah, that I know
all
that.
the Europa and like all those things. So they brought me on. They're like, oh yeah, we don't really know what to do here, but you have a lot of experience in the field. Since I was already out doing it, apparently at that point I had like 3 or 4 years of experience, which nobody had in social media.
Right.
And they're
right,
like, it
right.
was starting to gain traction. They're like, yeah, just do whatever you were doing before for these movies. And I'm like, I know nothing about doing it in the movie space. So okay, let's just make things up. Luckily, like there were a lot of traditional things that I kind of like traditional marketing things that I kind of just converted into digital. So gamifying things before gamifying was a term.
Yeah. So how different was that compared to like I guess just playing Google ads and all like social media, right? Like you're working with like a Facebook post schedule and
It's
like a
yeah, so it's
targeting
creating content
audience.
schedules. It's interesting because it's more of a macro level. So I'd hire agencies to do this kind of work because I was working on several movies at a time. So I think my first movie I worked on was End of Watch with Jake Gyllenhaal.
And do you get to meet these
And
actors too, by the way?
yes, because it was like a social media was kind of one of those things that they're like, okay, you fill it in all the gaps, fill in all the gaps. So go on set, talk to them, do a Facebook Live, like
What?
doing YouTube lives. And like, I interact with these people and they'd be like, so you're the internet guy? I'm like, yeah, I guess I am.
I
It's
gotta
like,
see this
and it
in
was really weird.
person.
Like, interesting because like I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm not really, I don't get starstruck that much, but it's like really weird just interacting. Like I was doing a
Yeah. Tell
YouTube
me about it.
live
Yeah.
stream with like for a movie we did called Side Effects, which had Channing Tatum.
No way. Oh, I've seen that with Anne Hathaway, right?
Yeah, no, it was Rooney Mara.
Oh, that's Love and
Um,
Other Drugs. Never mind.
yeah, and it was like Jude Law,
Yeah.
Catherine Zeta-Jones, and it was interesting because like we were just like chilling, like while we were taking a break. Channing Tatum's like, "What's up?" And I was like, "What's up, Mr. Tatum?"
No
I was like,
way.
how, like, and I'm like, what do I even say to you? Like, how does it feel like to be famous? It's just kind of like, it's
That's
weird,
funny.
but it was that, which, like, these opportunities I didn't have, that social media didn't have. I was kind of pioneering. There was a movie that we worked on. This is where it really turned the tables. There was a movie called Jobs with Ashton
Right,
Kutcher, which
right,
was
right.
the original iteration of the Steve Jobs story with Ashton Kutcher, which we picked up off of Sundance for like 9 million or something like that. So it was like, it wasn't 9 million, by the way, is pennies to get a movie.
Yeah.
And it was like, the sentiment of Ashton Kutcher being Steve Jobs was kind of negative coming out of Sundance because people were like, how's the guy from the 70s show going to be Steve Jobs?
Yeah, yeah, and like I think it's funny because
Ah,
he does like a bunch of other stuff where he's like in venture capital too, and then
Yeah, yes, yeah.
directing too, and
This is something that, like, they didn't really know. Like the general public didn't really have knowledge of this, like, prior.
yeah,
So this was really like, looking at Ashton Kutcher in a different light, other than the guy that's always high on that 70s show. And they're like, okay, we're gonna pour a lot of our budget into digital because we don't have a big budget for this movie. We got for 9 million. We probably have another 9 million to spend in general to open this movie across the country. And like under 20 million to release a movie is like nothing. It's like nothing. Like movie studios like Disney and stuff like that for hundreds of millions of dollars into marketing this kind of stuff.
wow, that's a lot of money.
And hardly any of that makes a dent because it's everyone's saturated with watch this, experience this, blah blah blah. But it's really cool. This is where it turned really like turned the corner for me. It was Instagram or Fox just released a trailer on Vine, which was like Vine was like a big thing back then. It was like a platform for like 6-second videos.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
then
and
I
you
remember
could only
that.
like live record things, but you couldn't upload things. But there was a fully uploaded trailer for the movie Wolverine on there, and Fox must have paid, I don't know, millions of dollars to get it on
Right,
there.
you're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, and at the same time, Instagram had a similar feature, but still didn't allow uploading. So I was like, okay, there has to be some way to do this, right? Maybe if I can hack it, I can upload a trailer, and then it wouldn't look so janky because people were just like recording screens to upload their trailers. So I looked at like Instagram just got acquired by Facebook at that point.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
things were kind of just like jumbled, not really coded correctly. I plugged in my Android phone into the computer, and I kind of like realized that when you lose reception on your phone, the files get cached somewhere on your computer on your phone, and then upload later. So I'm like, where do they go get cached? So I found it. I found the file. I was like, oh snap! This is the file that's gonna get uploaded when I get reception. So
you're right. Yeah, yeah.
I hit up the AV team for that for the studio, and I was like, hey, can you cut me a trailer in the exact same specs as what gets uploaded? And I basically switched it out. I copied the same file name, put it back in the same folder, and when I turned it off airplane mode, it ingested the file and uploaded it into Instagram as the first video that's been uploaded to Instagram.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And
So
what was
if
this
you
video?
like uploading videos
Yeah, yeah. This was the first video.
Instagram,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Hey, we got the guy. It's we should all get like some endorsement for that or something.
Yeah, it's funny because like so it got uploaded. I did this. I called the CMO of the company on Sunday. I was like, hey, I think I found a way to upload things to Instagram, and he was like, yeah, whatever. Like he was so he
Wow.
was just like, yeah, do whatever you need to do, because it was like not really a priority. Social media was kind of like still wild west. No one was really paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Uploaded it Sunday, came in Monday. People were just like,
No way.
what happened? Like, you didn't see? I was like, I didn't see what? Literally, Vanity Fair, Good Morning America, Mashable,
Yeah, that changed the
Business
world kind of, right?
Insider, everything, everyone covered. Like, it also had to do with like, it was a Steve Jobs movie, so innovation was part of it.
Sure.
And they're like, speaking of innovation with the new Jobs movie, the movie jobs uploaded the first video on Instagram, and I was like, oh shit.
That was you, man.
So
That was you.
like literally everyone, like people are calling me, like Instagram, my reps at Facebook were calling, blowing up my phone. And I was like, oh shit, I kind of broke their system. So I'm just not gonna answer these calls
That is,
because
yeah.
I'm just gonna let it sit for a second.
Yeah, so I think right. That's crazy because I think the world we live in, it's just new technology every day, and like maybe the closest thing in our minds to this is like a TikTok, right? Like when no one knows how to use it and we just have to break it, like make it like literally what you did, break it and like force something to work, or like but like with like legacy industries like even the movie industry and like now what you're doing with woodworking, like how is that response from, I guess, internally, how do you see that? Because like new technology, becoming a major part of the business, is that like kind of embraced, or is that like people scared it's not going to work, it's like a risk? Like how's that perceived, and like how do you make that
I
happen?
mean, other than the woodworking stuff, I still do like work with Fox and Sony and stuff like that. And like every time across the board, any of these places, some people are more knowledgeable about like kind of like newer platforms and how to adapt them and adopt them, some more than others. But a lot of people have their mainstays here. Like they're like, okay, yeah, you do Instagram, you do YouTube, whatever else you want to throw in there that you think in your professional opinion you should do. So like, like it's kind of up to the discretion of me or anyone in those kind of positions to kind of see, because like a lot of people don't know. Like you swear the execs at Fox. Like I'm doing a show right now. I don't know if this violates NDA. I'm doing a show right now with Jay Leno, called "You Bet Your Life." That's going to be airing nationwide in September. It's like Jay Leno's comeback like game show, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I know him.
they're like, yeah, we trust whatever you ever want to do. So like, I have to get COVID tested like every day because
No
I
way, that's
regularly
too that's
interact with,
bad, man.
yeah, even though I'm vaccinated, like because I interact with Jay Leno all the time. So like, I was
Wait,
like,
you're
hey
serious?
Jay,
You met him and you hang out with him?
oh well, I don't hang out. And like we're on set every day, so like,
Oh wow, okay.
I kind of like grab stuff like for TikTok because
Yeah,
like even though like we have promos and stuff like that we post on Instagram and we target, we put like behind the scenes content. TikTok is one of those things where you kind of ride trends that are there instead of making
right.
them. So I'm like, okay, let's do the Daniel Mac thing. Jay Leno has cool cars.
Yeah.
Rolled up in a Tesla Plaid the other day, and I was like, hey Jay, can we do this thing for TikTok real quick? I grab my phone. I'm like, okay, let's do the Daniel Mac thing. I'm gonna ask you like, what kind of car this is and how much it costs and like stuff like that. So I'm like, he's like, all right, the guy's sharp. I'm like,
Sure.
all right, hey Jay, that's a killer car. Like, what do you do for a living? And he's like, hi, I'm Jay Leno. I'm the host of this new show called You Bet Your Life. This is a Tesla Plaid. And then he turned it on, so it started auto driving away.
I'm gonna watch this one. Is it out now? Is it like on YouTube?
It's on TikTok right now. It's if you look at You Bet Your Life, and it's got 177,000 views on it right now.
That's a lot, right?
which is great for organic content that you didn't do any paid on. So it's like that in that sense, like I show that to the producers and the executive producers, and they're like, wow, that's great. We should do more stuff like this. But it's kind of one of those things like with the Instagram thing, like they don't start paying attention until it's big.
Yeah. Yeah.
and when they capitalize on it, like like when I brought the woodworking company to up towards the teens million mark, they're like, yeah, just do your thing until it started getting like having a major effect on sales, and they're like,
Sure.
whoa. So tell us more about this.
Yeah. So I guess Rayson, that's something that at least the listeners really would love to hear from you. Is how do you know if this trend is real, right? Like how do you know if, let's say, TikTok years ago would really blow up, and you have to invest in knowing more about it? Let's say Facebook in the early days or Instagram, like because a lot of people are worried that they're betting their careers on platforms that could basically sunset or sunrise, right? Like how do you think about that? Like what's your thoughts on it? Just because I think a lot of us imagine that technology field or even business field, right? Like sometimes what you learn in college, right? Like what the teachers teach you, after 2 years especially in
Alright,
tech
cool.
side, like it's expired, right? Like, so how do you know that you're not wasting, let's say, 4 years of college in something that actually become irrelevant soon?
So yeah, I mean, like it's one of those things. Like regardless of what you learn in college, I feel like you always have to stay relevant. And hold on, just a second. Sorry about that. Hey man.
Get the on a mobile order?
No.
You're not?
No.
Okay, bro.
That's the same guy that gave me the order. It's like, do you not remember me? Anyways, like it's one of those things. Like I've spoken at colleges, and like people are, and that's actually a common question. It's like, how do I get into this? Like, is what I'm learning right now relevant? I was like, it's not what you learn in college in this field. It's what you learn how to do, which is stay diligent. So even like
Sure.
I've been doing digital for I would say 16, 17 years now. And I always have to learn new platforms. I always have to be kept abreast to like what's coming up and how the adaptability of that is and how to kind of like interpret the way to do how to convert target KPIs and initiatives that are aligning with the overall company and converting that into whatever the platform is.
Yeah, can you talk about that learning process? I think just like does that come natural to you, or like is it like a lot of
like it's one of those things. It's like creativity is like people are like, oh, you're either born with it or not. It's no, it's not really. It's one of those. It's like a learning exercise that you constantly have to do. So I look at platforms all the time when I pick up new projects. I always look at them and say, like, how will this respond to the audience on this platform? And how can I make it? How can I translate it to work with the platform? Because each platform online kind of does its own thing, right?
Sure,
like TikTok is more for entertainment. Like apparently Instagram is now for shopping. Facebook is more for like events and like
family
news,
maybe.
I guess.
Yeah.
And then like YouTube is starting to do more shorts. It's kind of like you always have to be open to pivot. And like
Open to pivoting.
sometimes like you invest into learning one thing and you do a lot of resources. You like expend a lot of your resources, both like opportunity costs as well as like money, into learning something, and then it sunsets. I can't even tell you how many times I worked on movie studio like campaigns where we built out this like elaborate app on Facebook, and then Facebook changed their code, and literally the $100,000 that they used to create that app is useless. It doesn't even work.
No way. How common or how often did that happen? Did that happen like
all the time?
All the time?
All the time. If you use any of those like scheduling apps like Buffer,
like Canva maybe, or
yeah,
HubSpot.
Like, well, Canva does have a posting like ability,
Yeah.
but like those things go down all the time because Facebook changes a small piece of code that affects the API that they use.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
So like it's kind of like I'd say like be open to everything. Like be always be knowledgeable and up to date on what's happening. So like read blogs, do a lot of Twitter, do a lot of like TikTok, look at the trends, look at what people are using.
Yeah.
And then look at like read things like Social Media Examiner, that's what I use, or like Mashable or things that people are starting to use and mass adopt, and then try to get in early on that. Figure out how to use the platform and how to establish yourself as an authority on that platform, whatever the brand is or whatever your personal brand is. And know that you might have to pivot.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, that it seems like you must pivot at these times, or unless like it's not going to work out unless you pivot. That's what I'm kind of seeing.
Everything pivots. Like like I have a strategy upon a strategy behind a strategy in case Instagram disappears, or in case Facebook becomes a different platform, or like that's why like whenever I talk to people for personal brands, I'm always like, oh, I'm a huge Instagram influencer. I'm always telling them, like, look, you got to diversify your platforms. Then, like, you have to make sure that you push people towards something that you own, like your own Facebook, your own website, or diversify on YouTube if you don't want to build your own website, stuff like that. Because the minute one platform goes down, you're now irrelevant.
Right. What are you using to, by the way, what are you using to edit the videos? Is it like Adobe Premiere, or like
So
just
I
the
use
phone?
I use when I'm doing it on the fly. I use LumaFusion, which is an app on my phone, which is equally as powerful as for what I need to do on social, um, as like Premiere or Final Cut, any of those things. You can do it on the fly on your phone. I
What was
usually
it called?
use Premiere,
Luma
LumaFusion, LUMA Fusion.
LUMA. Okay. And is that free? Is that like paid by the company? Is that
You would
expensive?
have to pay, like, yeah, it's a paid app.
Okay.
It's like $30 or something like that. But the power of that app is like great for when you need to like do things.
Wow.
Like when you don't want to rely on like editing through TikTok or like the standard graphics that you have on Canva. But if you want to get something that's like really something that you have full control over, like an editing software, and you don't want to pull it onto your laptop,
Yeah.
software
Yeah.
like LumaFusion on your phone is great.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man.
Man, I gotta go look at this whole new world. I think like Silicon Valley is just like I don't know, like I kind of forgot about like the other industries in the world, and like it's interesting how you're in film and like like woodwork and
Yeah,
like
that's a
marketing.
funny thing. In fact, that's probably a good question, right? I guess, Rayson, what's your thoughts on, what's LA tech look like? Because a lot of our guests obviously come from tech and Silicon Valley VCs, etc. But we want to bring you a different perspective. What does LA tech look like? How different could it be, let's say, to like the startup mindset, say in Silicon Valley, right?
Like it's a lot more laid back here. I mean, I know that we have Silicon Beach out here, but Silicon Beach, the whole
It's like
appeal of it is that it leaks into everything. So like tech kind of leaks into entertainment, and entertainment kind of leaks into tech, and then like entertainment and tech kind of leak into like brands,
sure.
because they all kind of like meld together out here, which is funny because like those three things exist out here. So there would be some synergetic like combinations here where you have like, people launching NFTs who are celebrities launching like a celebrity backed Reese's Pieces cereal NFT
Hmm.
that crosses tech, that crosses entertainment, that crosses brand. The
Right.
fact that Amazon Studios exists out here, where Amazon is, not a traditional entertainment company,
Yeah.
but it exists because like the cross platform or cross industry stuff is here. So it's not like I feel like tech in Silicon Valley is more
Businessy or
like
like formal.
funding rounds and seed
Okay.
rounds and like trying to launch IPOs and stuff like that. Here it's more of like, okay, how do we cross it into more entertainment, more mass adoptable like market? How do we make a bigger splash? More for like the outward aesthetic kind of thing, as opposed to like
Yeah.
raise
Yeah.
money through
Yeah.
a traditional like angel investor or something.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Hey, Rayson, we have a couple minutes left, so maybe I'll ask you like some final questions from my end that Dan to wrap.
Let's go. Let's go. Like let's
Yeah.
lightning round.
My last two questions is, if you had to explain a startup mindset in one sentence, what would that be? And the second question right after that is, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you meet him today?
I don't want to be sound like cliche, but like always stay on top of things. Like like it's true. Like I hear this from a lot of people. I do a lot of panel speaking. I do a lot of like talks, and everyone always says the same thing, which is what I always echo is get started. Like like I talk to a lot of people. Like, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this, but don't do it. Like the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. Like you got to just dive. Like don't think of business plans. Don't think of like, because you spend hours doing that. You finally launch something, and no one adopts it. It's a waste of time. So just get started. Whatever it is, you just build it, put it out there, and see how the audience reacts to it.
Yeah, no, I think that's That's what everyone does, and it's hard to say. Like you, I think for this industry, it's hard to say that you figure something out because something just keeps. It's a moving target. So I think that's useful advice and pretty relevant to
Is
everything.
that the advice to yourself, Rayson, your 20-year-old self, is to
Like-
just go get
like-
started, or what is that?
Yeah, because like when I was a kid, I was like, I'd love to, or when I was younger, I was like, I'd love to just do this, and I'd love to just do this. Like, I would tell myself, well, obviously now is a different time. Like, learn it, and do it. Just learn it on your own. Don't wait for someone to signal you. Don't, because like I would always be like, hey, do you want to do this with me? Hey, I'm starting this thing. Do you want to do this with me? No, just do it yourself. Like, people will always follow you if you start.
Wow, yeah, that's a good point.
That's a
Because
good
if
one.
you don't-
People will follow you if you start. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because a lot of people
you
are
have an
waiting
idea.
for someone else to start.
Yeah, no, that's literally it. Like, I talk to people all the time who are like, all right, you start like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's a cool idea. But when I'm actually doing it, people are like, yo, how can I get in on this? You weren't in on it before. So, yeah.
Cool. Dan, final
Oh,
words.
man. Yeah, well, Rayson, dude, this has been, super amazing and more than we kind of envisioned. How you, I mean, like if do you want to promote yourself or what do you want to say? Like if you had the
I mean,
next
like,
30 seconds
find
here.
me on LinkedIn. It's, like just search Rayson, just Google Rayson, and
Sweet.
like you'll find all my stuff. There's too many things to find.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah. I'll do it on social. You're on social media, right? So I could tag you and
I'm
do
on
it. too.
every social media with like 10 different profiles.
We got to make a good social media to make you proud. You've done too much, and I got to show off. We have to it's time to show off.
Awesome. Well, Rayson, thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Pleasure
See you
being
later,
on
Rayson. Yeah, keep in touch.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks,
thanks, man.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Yeah, thanks.
I saw us running out of time, so I wanted to wrap it up.
Yeah, that was cool. I think it downloads to my computer. So okay.
Yep. Yeah, it will, I think, automatically. Yeah.